Hello, dear passengers. This is your captain speaking, and we are about to take off for another episode of Adventulina. Hello, welcome to the first episode of Adventulina for 2024. Happy New Year, guys! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! It's literally end of January. People probably forgot they were holidays already. But never mind. New year, new episode, guys. So let's kick it off. Hope you all had an amazing holiday time. Hope you all had a good start of your year. And I'm gonna start with some news on my side. Some of you probably saw, some of you probably didn't, but as a January present to my audience, I prepared a travel planner for the year, and you can now grab it for free. You just have to go to my website, adventulina.com, and sign up to my newsletter, or like I call it, adventure letter. So the planner is digital, but it's up to you guys if you want to edit it as a digital asset or you want to print it out on a paper and write on it. I personally love to write things down on paper, but it's not about me, right? I've already got some feedback, and I'm super happy people find it helpful. I really try to include everything needed for planning a destination. I know how many people struggle with planning their trips. Maybe they go through the initial information, but then it's hard to keep track of what they found. It's impossible to remember everything, and also you don't have to. In Bulgaria, actually, we have a saying, smart people write things down, stupid people remember things. Or is it even a Bulgarian saying, now that I think of it? I may have just made that up, by the way. Maybe I heard it, I don't know, here in the States, no idea, honestly. I haven't been home for so long that I won't be surprised if we don't have any saying like this at all. But whatever, just trust me when I say remembering things is not a good approach for almost anything. I personally have this weird ability to remember weird stuff, mostly numbers. Things that I saw just once for some reason stuck in my mind for way too long. And by weird stuff, understand, let me see, a car plate number or a phone number of a business or the way I was dressed on October 13th, 2009 at the club. And I'm not joking, by the way. I guess that's what they call a photographic memory or whatever. I just see something once and I remember it, especially if it's digits. Oh, I really don't know why, but I remember stuff that I will never ever use or benefit from ever in my life. Like the car plate number of a person I knew in my town, not even a friend of mine. Someone that I barely knew and would see their car occasionally, I guess. Or I remember goddamn prices of things years and years ago. Where exactly would I ever use that, you know? It's helpful though when it comes to cards, for example. I literally remember all my debit and credit cards numbers, understand 16 digits plus dates and security codes and stuff. Yeah, this is helpful. Or phone numbers, dates, passwords. I literally can give you my travel dates and other events dates for years ago for multiple stuff. I don't know. I just close my eyes and kind of see the calendar. I almost never update my passwords because I always remember them. That's, I guess, the cool part. But okay, it does have advantages, but only for the useful stuff. The rest I wish I could skip, but it's not up to me. Anyway, I was talking about how it's impossible to remember everything, and even for people like me who remember a lot, it's still very helpful to, organize all your information into lists or columns. If it's a day trip, you can probably go for it, but anything longer that requires more planning, we do need a better way to organize. And that's why I created this travel planner. I have talked to so many people who really have no idea where to start from when they decide to go on a vacation. People ask me, do I book first the airplane ticket? Do I book the hotel? What if one of them is not available by the time I book the other one? How do you coordinate all the pieces of the itinerary? How do you make sure things are not overlapping? Well, I'm good at planning now, but it took me time to develop my routine and to learn from my mistakes, so I can make sure wherever I go, I will have the best possible time and I will see the most of my destination. The first thing I remember I started making lists for was packing. I've mentioned before that I love packing. I have received a lot of shit and jokes through my life for mentioning that this weird thing exists. Yeah, people who love packing, that's me. So it's okay if you come for me. I don't mind anymore. But yes, I love packing. I love gathering my shit. I love putting it in my carry-on or my big suitcase. Whatever the hell it is, I just love it. And not only packing for a trip, even if I have to move. Like, a lot of people hate even the thought of having to move because of how many inconveniences that brings. And one of the biggest inconveniences, according to normal people, is having to pack all your shit. I guess for someone like me who moved across the world in 2 or 3 suitcases, literally putting my life in 2 or 3 pieces of luggage, that's not a problem. I don't know if that's the reason. I moved to a new apartment last year and honestly loved packing and moving my stuff. A little pause. I guess the audience drastically dropped after me saying that. But yeah, maybe the thought of me organizing everything and the excitement of finding new places for all my belongings is what I love. You know, you get to decide where to put everything, you change up things, and on top of that, I've always liked playing Tetris. Which, all jokes aside, really helps when packing. I'm serious. Like, laugh as much as you want, but years of playing Tetris always pays off when I start packing. No matter if it's for moving or for traveling. I would literally pay someone to go organize their closet or pack their carry-on for a trip or gather all their stuff for moving to a new place. And anyway, back to what I was talking 10 minutes ago. I started making packing lists to make sure I never forget what I need with me. I remember being a kid literally in elementary school and my parents would book a vacation. So weeks before that, I would start writing down what I want to take, which back then, was mainly kid stuff, toys, books, whatever. I just wanted to make sure I had all my favorite stuff with me, and it remained as a habit, I guess. Later on, when my mom stopped being responsible for packing my clothes and I had to start doing it for myself, I would make a list and follow it once I start packing. My dad actually still teases me about one summer camp trip that I went on and how he found my packing list, which included a baseball bat under the category of fun stuff. Just to be clear, in my defense, I know I'm from Bulgaria, but even so, what I meant was I was going to try playing baseball for fun, not to break people's bones or anything like that. Maybe my dad was a little concerned what type of fun I meant, But yeah, started from packing lists, gradually adding categories in the list to make sure I have not just the needed clothes and stuff for fun, but also cosmetics, shoes, accessories, everything. And until today, unless it's a weekend trip, I guess, I always make packing lists because I don't want to forget something. Forgetting something when leaving for a vacation is one of the things that I hate. And I know most things, you can replace, you can buy again, but it pisses me off because I just blame myself. Because I probably wanted to remember taking this thing, but I, at the same time, know it's impossible to remember everything. Especially the days before you're going on a trip, your head is a mess. And I also hate to spend money on things that I have home and I just forgot to take. Like, what am I gonna do after with 2 or 3 of those things, What I also do with my packing list is, before my trip, I start putting stuff in my suitcase based on the list, and I check them off. I keep the list and I take it with me, so once I start packing for going home, I use the same list to make sure I got all my stuff from the hotel or whatever accommodation I'm staying in. I know it's way easier to pack on your way back, basically whatever you see in the room, and it's not the hotel property, you take it. But sometimes you leave stuff in closets if you are a psycho like me and you actually unpack while staying in hotels. Sometimes things go under the bed, sometimes you can see the pair of shoes, a tank top, got hidden under your sheets while you were making your bed, I guess. Those type of things. I still regret forgetting my favorite pair of leggings in a hotel in Tahoe. And it was my favorite pair, I swear. I was never able to find such good fit since then, and it was just 12 bucks. I actually got it in Bulgaria from a store similar to Walmart. It was super cheap and it wasn't even a brand that I had ever heard of, but it turned out to be super good quality, and most important, I loved how it looked on me. But do I still have it? No, because I didn't make a goddamn list and I forgot it. I called the hotel, no one found it, and that was the end. My point is, things like this wouldn't have happened if I had made a list and I had made sure that I got all my belongings. So lesson learned. So after some years, the packing lists kind of developed to different pieces of paper with some to-do things before leaving for a trip. I would leave notes for myself, stuff like, wash this pair of shoes, print out this ticket, fix glasses, buy shampoo, small things that somehow fall into the cracks of the busy days. And with more and more things to remember, I was just writing stuff down, dividing the page into sections and making sure I got everything so I'm prepared. And it never let me down. There is no such thing as too much information. Well, at least when it comes to knowledge, I guess. And there is no such thing as too prepared. And with that said, the more info you have, the better. And if you manage to organize all this and make it easy to go back to and use, I guarantee you half of the hustle will be gone and you will enjoy your vacation much more. A lot of people share with me that they're super stressed, not just before their trip, but also on their way to their destination. Some people are stressed even during their vacation. And I'm like, wait a minute. Vacations have the exact opposite purpose. To take the stress away, If you're stressed while planning, then you're not planning right, I guess. Or maybe you don't know how to plan, but that's fine. Just like anything else, you learn it. So I put a lot of effort into this travel planner because I really want to make this whole process easier for people. Easier and more enjoyable, of course. Because yes, planning can be enjoyable. When you get your things done on time and have everything prepared, you get to enjoy your vacation without having to worry about details. I've mentioned before that I genuinely hate, when I have to search for things on the spot while traveling, while moving on some kind of transportation. I just hate it. It feels like too much pressure. You rely on internet access and you have to be fast. So the feeling is a no-no for me. I don't like figuring things out on the spot, at least not when it comes to travel itineraries. Only if there is like a weather surprise or some inevitable changes in the plan, that has to be handled immediately and it's different. This planner starts with a bucket list where you can kind of put all your destinations planned for 2024. After that, I've added lists depending on the transportation, so you'll be able to mark your destinations that you will need to fly to or take a bus to or maybe a train, even your cruises, like if you're lucky enough to have a few of them, good for you. There is also a small world map where you can pin your 2024 destinations and use it as a tracker of the places you've been to this year. You'll also find a calendar for the next 12 months where you can mark your dates and see what days they fall on for better planning or requesting days off from work. The planner includes mini planners or sub-planners for up to 10 destinations. I'll be super happy if later I start receiving feedback that these 10 destinations were not enough. That would mean people actually have more than 10 trips scheduled for the year, which is awesome and honestly a real life goal, right? In every individual destination planner, you will find info sheet that includes all the important details of your upcoming trip. This way you will never forget the essential things when you need to consider while planning, such as weather, time zone, documents required, vaccinations, visas, whatever. There are also dedicated transportation and accommodation sheets for keeping, all of this info in one place. You can add all the details such as airport, terminal, flight number, connection time, whatever. And since budget traveling is a priority for me, as I want to see more places, I prepared sheets that allow you to add your savings goal and track how much and where from you save and how you achieve your goal. Of course, the planner comes with lists of the things you want to see, you want to do, you want to try, as I believe this is the most important part of your experience, to be able to make the most of your trip, not just financially, but memory-wise. Never miss an experience. Each of those 10 destination planners has a 7-day sub-planner, which will allow you to plan your trip day by day. For the freaks like me, you will schedule the whole thing by the hour. For normal people, they will have an idea of where they're going each day, and that will be enough for them. So those sub-planners are a great way to stay organized and to know which day you're doing what in order for you to, avoid unnecessary going back and forth. As we have talked before, planning day by day and dividing the areas of your destination is crucial when you want to maximize your time. The strategy I called divide and conquer. Divide a city, for example, you're going to, and dedicate certain parts of it for different days so you don't go back and forth and you don't end up wasting time commuting. I've also added a counting down sheet, to build your excitement, whoop, whoop, because there's something very exciting about crossing off days. Well, not when you're in prison, I guess, but, when you're waiting for a vacation. Packing lists, of course, are part of this travel planner for all your essentials to make sure you have all the necessary clothes, devices, toiletries, shoes, everything. Those can get freaking long, so, no way to remember everything again. And even if you have a packing routine, even if you go through the same things every time and you have an order to put them in your suitcase, it's always different. If you're going to a cold place, for example, the packing will be different than if you're going to a tropical destination. Not just the clothes and the shoes, but also, the additional accessories. So packing for the weekend will also be different than going somewhere for a week, let's say. While you can skip, bringing some of the hair care products, for example, on a short trip, you will definitely need them for a longer trip. So for the end of the travel planner, I put some notes sheets for any additional info you would like to save, anything more you have to write down, and putting all of that together while making it appealing for people to look at was not a quick process. But I like spending time making things that matter to me better, and in this case, I wanted to make sure all my thoughts and ideas reflect on these planner pages, as I know how important it is to keep track of millions of things, especially when you're traveling or you're about to travel. And with that being said, I can encourage you once again to go to my website, adventulina.com, and get this shit for free. It's gonna be there for a while because it covers the whole 2024. So the sooner you get it, the sooner you can start planning your trips. And also you can keep all the info at the same place. And if you're also a travel stuff hoarder like me, the best part is that if you decide to print it out, you can keep it as a souvenir later, And it will serve as a memory from that particular year and also as a journal or even a destination guide. If you have any friends who are going to the same place later, you can maybe give it to them and, make their life easier. In other words, something useful written down will most likely be appreciated later on. What is the destination I'm going to first on my 2024 calendar, you may ask? Glad you asked. Actually, no one asked, but sure. My first, I would say, big trip this year will be in March. And as some of you correctly remember, that will be my rescheduled Alaska trip. I've mentioned before I had Alaska planned for November, but I ended up going to Texas and New Jersey. And the main goal here is to see the Northern Lights. So after talking to friends who have been to Alaska and also researching the internet, I decided that end of March will be the time for my long-awaited and long-wanted Alaska trip. So this is the first big thing planned for this year. An interesting fact is that back in Bulgaria, I used to work for a company that sends full-time students to the US for a summer work and travel program. I actually was a client of theirs for a couple of years. That's how I came to the United States the first time. I was a summer work and travel student, or J1 student as they call it. After that, the same company I traveled with offered me a job, and I ended up working there for 5 years, literally until I moved to San Francisco. So long story short, as being part of this company in Bulgaria, and as me and my coworkers would be responsible for placing students to work in different states, we used to send thousands of people to the United States every season, and the majority of them were going to Alaska. There were just a lot of employers there who needed seasonal help, and the state standard was pretty good for these students. So anyway, after sending so many people to Alaska, after hearing so many stories and seeing so many photos of this place, it's just a crime that I haven't been there yet. So I had to fix that. It was time. And I'm super excited about this trip. It's gonna be so much different than any other trip so far. First, the cold. Let's be honest, San Francisco weather has spoiled me to the point that I sometimes get angry at myself for putting on a jacket when it's 13 degrees Celsius. Not having winter and not having super hot summer makes it hard to adjust to any other temperature. We are in the middle here, and as much as we like it, it sucks when you have to travel somewhere super hot or super cold. So Alaska will be a challenge for me for sure, because I'm not used to cold weather anymore. I'm a little nervous, especially now when I'm, checking the temperature and I see minus 35 Celsius and whatever that Fahrenheit is, but yeah, it's kind of scary. But also by the end of March, when I'm going, it's going to be better, but still way below the normal for what I'm used to. So I'm trying to mentally prepare and, also make sure that I have the appropriate clothes, because I want to enjoy everything I have on my list, and I don't want to, let cold ruin my experience. Well, it will not really be the cold ruining it. It will be me not being prepared for it. I'm gonna fly to Fairbanks, which is one of the destinations me and my coworkers used to send a lot of students to. So I feel like I'm already familiar with the city. It feels like it's not completely new. It feels kind of safe, if I have to be honest. Maybe just the fact that I've known this place for a while. I don't know. I found a bunch of cool activities such as dog sledding, snowmobile riding, ice museums, hot springs, and much more. The main goal again is to see the Northern Lights, which according to my research and all people I talked to is strongest between August and April. So more than anything, I want to experience that. And I don't know, because to go to Alaska and not see the Northern Lights is like coming to goddamn San Francisco and not seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, But no matter how much I have read and I have heard and I researched, I'm always a person who prefers to hear from other travelers. As I say, no one can give you better information than the person who has been there. So if anyone has any tips, please feel free to share. Let me know in the comments or on my social media channels. Shoot me a message, fill out the form on my website, whatever you want. I will also appreciate some dressing tips. As this is the part that makes me most nervous, if I have to be honest. If you have any tips on specific brands, clothes, ways to get dressed, warmers, and that kind of stuff, send them my way. I would love to hear how people stay warm in such cold destinations. And weirdly, I already can tell that this is not going to be my last Alaska trip. I haven't been there yet, but I caught myself thinking of where am I going next? Like, where else in Alaska I want to go after this trip? Like, I've been wanting to go on a cruise to Alaska for a while, but the ships start running later in May, and this is not a good time for chasing the aurora lights. My initial plan was to land in Anchorage and take a train all the way to Fairbanks and then fly out from Fairbanks back to San Francisco. But trains don't run regularly either, at least not the ones I wanted to get on, which is the panoramic trains. And yeah, I basically have at least 2 more trips to Alaska in my head already, without even going there once. And I just know what kind of itinerary my next 2 times will have. I see it like this, a cruise for the second Alaska visit to see the glaciers and to experience the sailing. And the third Alaska trip, I see it as some train experience, some panoramic views, road trips, more nature and activities for warmer months, I guess. But anyway, until then, I'm just going to daydream about my first trip to Alaska until it's time for it. So 2 more months, but I'm really excited. Another solo trip and hopefully another thing crossed off my bucket list, which is the Northern Lights. And of course, when I say 2 more months, I'm sure you already know that there is no way for me to kind of wait for 2 months until I go somewhere, right? And, I had to secure another trip before that one, just in order for me to not go crazy, in order for me to not lose faith in life and get sad, which always happens when I don't have anything booked. Literally, I came back from Texas in December. I stayed here for 2 weeks and I'm like, I don't have anything planned. I'm getting nervous. So I'm like, where's my Expedia? Where's my Google? Where are my flights? Let's go. Because we all know I need to have something booked. I always need to look forward to something, otherwise I cannot enjoy the present. Make sense or not? That's me. So yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna head to Joshua Tree National Park for a long weekend with some girlfriends, and that's gonna be the thing to keep me up until it's time to go to Alaska. Meanwhile, with the last episode of 2023 and the recap I did, along with this 2024 kicking off episode, I realized we haven't done Q&A for a long time, and I got some questions piled up in my inbox, which I apologized for. So here's 10 of them, 10 that I picked, and I think we all know with the way I go from topic to topic and my pre stories, I think we all know that I'm not gonna answer all 10 of them right now, unless the episode is 10 hours long, I don't know. So anyway, I'll only pick 3 of them, as that seems possible for me to handle. And like 40 minutes later, I'm still answering the first question. Jeez. Anyway, yeah, let's just focus and start. Let me pick the first question. Okay, here we go. Number 1. I went on a trip to Venice and fell in love with Italy. I'm obsessed with the Italian lifestyle and I constantly think about what my life would be like if I lived there. I really want to go and start a new life in Italy. How do I know it's the right decision? Already starting with the heavy ones. I guess I can kind of speak from my perspective on this one. Let's start with mentioning that to love a place you visited for a few days and you experienced, all the great sides of it is one thing. To approach your life and to start from zero at any point of life, but I guess the older the harder, is a completely different thing. We all get to kind of romanticize places based on sometimes our short experiences there. Places that live in our head as the best place on earth just because our memories there are very fun and important, or, include loved ones. And we as humans, I guess, often get to judge things pretty quickly for the good and for the bad. And as someone who moved on the other side of the world in their late 20s, I can definitely say this. Before you take any important steps, before you take any important decision, spend enough time to think about it, to even analyze, to see if that's the right thing to do. What you saw in Venice is what everyone sees when they go there for a few days. They see the absolutely stunning landmarks, they see the incredible architecture, the romantic restaurants, pizza, gelato, all those good things. And yeah, it's absolutely enough to fall in love with a place. But this would be different if you live there. Like, locals don't get to experience the tourist stuff the same way anymore because they're locals. At some point, you will get used to them, or you'll get tired of them, or maybe you will not have time for them anymore. When making such a big step as moving abroad, it's great to have the element of impulsiveness for sure. It makes everything more adventurous, but it's also great to have this grounding element, that brain part of the decision that will keep you sane for all the things that actually can go wrong or can, turn out to be different. On the other hand, I noticed you mentioned obsessed, and I truly believe that everything we think of constantly and obsessively about is not a random thought. If this thing is always making its way to your mind, then there is a reason for it to be that way. If you really want to explore that option and you're serious about uprooting your life and starting from zero at another place, I, pretending to be a friend of yours, will totally support you. In my opinion, living abroad is one of the hardest and at the same time bravest and most rewarding decisions you can ever take. Hardest because, it's hard as shit to be away from your home, from your friends and family, and to miss all holidays and important moments. And it's brave because despite how painful it can be, you still decided to do it. And if that's how you feel, go for it. If you are craving this excitement of starting from zero where no one knows you and you want a fresh start, do it. If you're trying to break out of your own box and put yourself out of your comfort zone and you know a new place will do it for you, do it. If you wanted to escape or avoid something, if you feel like this is not your happy place, your current place, do it. Just move. We are people. We have legs for a reason. We ain't trees, sister. If you don't like something, you walk away and find a better place. And of course, do your proper research. Gather as much information as you can to be more familiar with laws, requirements, documents, and stuff like this. Consider the language barrier. Consider the different traditions. Consider the religion if you're religious. Just really do your homework before making the big step. It's also important to think, are you considering living in Venice exactly or anywhere in Italy? Because just like in any other country, there are places and places, Do you strictly want to live in Venice? And have you thought of the whole infrastructure, challenges, and things like that? Because I know it's incredible to look at it and admire it, but it's not for everyone to live there. Just like any other place, it comes with pros and cons. Also, do you just want to live in Italy because you mentioned you love the Italian lifestyle? Like, what part of their lifestyle do you like? Do you like the fancy boutiques and glamorous restaurants? Or do you like the, La Dolce Vita with the landscapes and nature? Do you like the Italian mentality and culture? Because I think it's something a lot of people are fascinated by, but also forget that it's an Italian thing. And moving there, it's not going to make you one of them, if you know what I mean. It's just, they will always be Italians and you will always be the foreigner. No matter how much you're going to adopt their culture, it's always going to be a little bit strange to you. Like I read somewhere, you can come to the United States and become an American, but you cannot go to Italy or France or Germany and become Italian, French, or German. And it's right. Just, think about it. Again, if you really want to try living abroad, don't only base your decision on what you saw for a few days or for a few trips, not sure how many times and how long you've been to Venice for. Just start reading and researching, and if along the way you start noticing more cons than pros of living there, maybe that's not your place. Maybe it was just meant to be a favorite vacation spot, If you make it all the way through the research though, and you end up there, but a few months in, you don't actually like it, you can always go back to your country. I hope you can. Obviously, those things vary from place to place, but if it's Europe, it's a little easier, I guess. So again, you took the step, but after following your dream, you just realized that, well, maybe it's not what I expected, but at least you tried. It's not the end of the world. Home will always be home, and we can always go back. We're always welcome there. So it's better that you were not sure, but you went, you tried, and you realized that it's not your thing, than staying at the same place your whole life and wondering, what would it be if I lived in Venice, I personally cannot live with what if. I would rather make a mistake than wonder what would have happened. But that also depends on, the type of person you are. My story was a little different as I got to San Francisco for an internship and I was going to spend about 5 months here. So I got to see the tourist part and the local part, in a way, in just one trip. Of course, the life of an intern is different than when you have to live here. But at least I got familiar with how things happen and how everything would work in case I decided to live here. I was prepared for the high prices. I was prepared for the bad places in town. I knew the way the city was run and the political stuff, and that's how I knew it wasn't just an impression based on a trip or vacation. I spent enough time here before I realized I wanted to spend more time and I wanted to be back, and maybe for even longer. And hey, worst case scenario, if things don't work out, which I believe always happens for a reason and in your favor, You can always take as many trips as you want and as you can to Venice or Italy in general. You can get to know the city or the country and you can keep coming back, which means enjoying it without having to live there. And with all the low-cost companies in Europe and with all the affordable tickets, I think this is not a bad idea. But yeah, I think that's my answer. So, woof, let's go to number 2. Damn. I think I'll just do 2. Okay, let's see. Name your most favorite city and your least favorite city you've been to. Oh, I remember this one coming in my inbox. Yep. I got nervous even back then. Because I know people are gonna give me shit about answering this one, but I'm gonna stay true to myself and I'm gonna answer it anyway because that's what your captain always does. First, let me remind you that I don't really like going back to places. When I travel somewhere, I try to see everything I want to see from this city or place. Not everything there, only everything I'm interested in. Because it's impossible to see everything of one place for a few days, you know? So I don't like going back to places, first because I want to spend my money on exploring something new, and second because I have already created memories there and you always compare your previous trips to your current experience. And sometimes your current experience doesn't top off your previous one, or you just had, the memories of this place with someone else and it doesn't feel nice, so it's not okay to be back. Of course, spending so much time in this country, there are places and cities I, for example, go to every year because they are close, because there are cheap tickets to, because I have friends there, because there are events happening that I want to attend. With other words, there's always a valid reason for me to go back somewhere. That's why Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, San Diego, New Jersey are destinations for me that I visit at least once per year. But anything else, once I've been there and I've seen what I'm interested in, I'm okay with never going back. And that's why planning for me is so important. I want to see everything that's on my list from the first time, so I don't have to go back. Like it happened with Seattle last year when I had to go back because I didn't complete my list the first time. So again, 10 minutes pre-story. Anyway, with all that said, ready to judge me? New York City is the only place that for some reason I cannot get enough of. New York City is the only place I would go back to tomorrow with no questions asked. I just love this place so much, and I know so many people hate it, which is fine, do your thing, but I'm completely in love with its vibe and with the endless possibilities it offers. I've been there so many times with so many different people doing so many things, and I'm convinced there's plenty I still have to see despite all the heavy itineraries I make every time. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's dirty or buildings are too tall, it's depressing, I feel so small. Not for me. I've never felt more alive than when I'm in New York City. But again, depends on the type of person you are. For me, walking on the streets is nothing else than admiring the neighborhoods and the typical New York things you see on TV. And I'm talking walking on the streets far away from everything tourist related you may think of. That's another thing I hate when people talk about New York City. Some people have only been to goddamn Times Square and they talk about the whole city like, this specific place, Times Square, defines it. And that's so wrong. Let's start from the fact that New York City is not just a city, it's like a whole world. And you want to tell me that you saw one tiny part of this world where there are like 4 million people who are trying to take the same photo and you judge the whole thing by it? No, that's not what New York City is. But anyway, all I'm trying to say is that opposite to what some people say, New York City is my happy place and the destination I love going back to, and I don't even mind doing all the touristy stuff every time. As I said, I don't like spending money on the same thing again and again, and if I already created my memories, that's fine for me. But this is the only place where I've visited the main city attractions multiple times and I'm ready to do it again. No idea why, I just love it. I've been to the Statue of Liberty at least 3 times. I've been to Empire State Building at least 4 times. Times Square and Central Park I'm not even gonna count because it's been multiple times there. this is just my favorite destination, and I'm not saying it's the most beautiful place on earth or the most safe or clean or whatever. I'm saying it's the most alive and vibrant for me, and that's why I feel happy and I want to come back more and more. And of course I feel the same way about San Francisco, but I already live here, so for me it's like getting my daily dose of San Francisco is perfect, and New York is this place that I love to go anytime, for any duration, with any type of experience, because it's just never enough. On the other hand, my least favorite place, I don't have one. Like, I'm serious, I don't. There are places that I wouldn't go back to, but again, just because I saw it once and there is nothing significant to make me go back. But seriously, every place on this planet is on my list, and I'm not exaggerating. I want to see everything, including what people swear is a piece of crap. I just don't believe things like that until I see it with my own eyes. There is no bad destination for me. If it was too bad, I would have known while I was planning on going there and while I was putting, my itinerary together. For sure, I was going to, notice some comments or warnings and stuff like that, feedback from other travelers. And it happens, to be somewhere and to experience something unpleasant. Of course, this is a different situation. That would probably make someone hate a place, or, this place will just remind them of this bad memory. Like, I remember someone shared with me their phone got stolen on the subway in Paris, so they literally talk shit about Paris all the time because they will always relate this destination to this bad experience. I have had some small itinerary hiccups and normal situations here and there, but thank God, nothing too bad. Knocking on door, wood, and door. Did I say door? You don't knock on door when you're talking about things like that. You knock on a table. Damn it. Anyway, thank God, nothing too bad, to the point of making me hate a place. I genuinely think every place has at least one good thing to be seen there. There is no state here in the US or a country outside of this country in the world that I would agree with hearing, oh, why would you go there? There is nothing to see. No, I don't believe that. There must be something. There has to be something nice to be checked out. Come on. So yeah, with that said, I think it's clear. There will be no third question, as it took me like 7 hours to answer the first two. But hey, I hope it was helpful, especially, the Italy part and moving abroad. You guys let me know what you want to hear about next time and what other things are bothering you so we can discuss them. Your captain is here to serve you, to fly the plane and make sure everyone arrives at their destination happy and leaves full of memories. So I'm going to wrap up this episode, guys, and thank you again for sticking to the end of another episode of Adventulina. I appreciate your support as always. And if you want to keep hearing from me, if you don't want me to shut the hell up, which I'm not gonna do anyway, click and subscribe, and I'll see you soon because my next episode is landing shortly. Bon voyage! I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Well, anyway, bye-bye!